Good day, hello, and welcome to episode 15 of the Velvet Revolution. My name is Ben Rice, and I'm joined as ever by Dave Noble. Good morning, Dave. How are you?
Morning, afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are placed in the globe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hello. I'm doing all right, Ben. Thank you. Um, yeah, I'm doing all right. Feel good. Feel like I've just um I've been. This is weather permitting because of where I live in the UK, where we live, I guess, in the UK. Um, I've just been like barefoot on my front lawn on the grass
Okay.
to do a little kind of like a little grounding sort of little grounding exercise, I guess, that you can't really do. Well, you could do it in the winter. Be a bit cold though, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's not exactly the brightest of days today where I am, but barefoot, and I just went out and stood on the lawn, just stood there barefoot on the lawn, and just I'm always talking about it on here, so I'm just sharing what I'm banging on about on here to other people. I'm just saying this is what I do. This morning I like to do this as often as I can. Is to be barefoot on my grass and just really sort of ground. And just do like a body scan of how do I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of just really plug into the roots of through my body, my feet, barefoot on the grass, on the earth, with the wind and the breeze, and I can smell the sea air, and because I'm near the ocean, and how does that feel? And breathe into it, and then just sort of ground, be centered within myself, and for me, it's a really important part of me living my life in a really healthy, you know, way. 'Cause it helps me. It just helps me. So I
Mm-hmm.
do it because it helps me. I recognize this is what helps me, so I make sure I do it as often as I can, you know? Um, so I did that, and yesterday, I wanna share this as well because it's like something I wanna share stuff on here that, it helps me, just because it helps me, it might not help other people, but unless you try stuff. So I'm always about, sharing ways that we can improve our well-being, I guess. So I've been starting to talk about horses without boring anyone about it. If you talk to me about horses even a year ago, I'd be like, oh yeah, horses, yeah, I guess they're all right. But it's not until I connect to something that I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I want to shout about it. Well, I had this really profound experience yesterday where there's Anne-Marie, and I can say her name, Anne-Marie. Hello, Anne-Marie. She is someone that I've been getting to know where I live down here. She's this really incredible person who does equine assisted um, healing or therapy
Mm-hmm.
with horses, with people that struggle in different ailments and whatever. Um, and I've been really lucky and fortunate to be able to sort of be included in, what she's doing. She's brought me into that world. And I've been leaning into it. And yesterday, there's this one particular horse that's kind of taken a shining to me, or we've got this connection. I'm really
Mm-hmm.
vibing on it. It's like I'm really buzzing from it. That like this incredible beast of a horse has got an interest in me.
Mm-hmm.
It's really kind of like I can't explain it. It's like, why is this horse so interested in me? And but yesterday I bared witness to something that I've never seen before, and it was incredible. I just want to quickly share. So I saw Anne-Marie sit on the floor, and she's someone like who's like a meditative person. She does a lot of breath
Mm-hmm.
work, does meditation. She used to be a yoga instructor, right? So she's got like that practice in
Mm-hmm.
her life, right? And I saw her sitting on. on the field where the horses are. There's the 2 horses. She's got these 2 horses. And she sat and she was cross-legged, and I could see she was just doing what I was just saying about the grass thing of grounding. She
Mm.
was just sitting there and she's grounding into it, and she was sort of like being very meditative, like meditating basically. And I saw the horses come to her,
Mhm.
and I witnessed from about 20 yards away, I witnessed the horses go into this sort of like sort of trance-like state where they just stood there completely still, and then I saw that the 3 of them were like, there was this sort of connectivity where they all just sort of dialed into the same frequency, and they
Mhm.
were all just meditating. And I was like, wow. I was watching that, right, as a
Mhm.
bystander. And then I don't know what made me do it. Well, I do know. I wanted to get a piece of the action because I was getting like, oh my God, this is really amazing. I've never seen anything like that before.
No.
I've seen it with humans.
Mhm.
You know, I don't know if anyone's been to like a meditation group or anything like that. You know, we all sit around and we're all dialing in, right?
Mhm.
And it's, you know, you say that about bands, you know, that's what they do. They, you know, anything like that. It's what we
Mhm.
do. We connect. This is what humans do. This is what I believe we're all meant to be doing. Not meant to be
Connecting.
fighting each other and
Mhm.
causing separation. And this is not just humans. This is what I bared witness to it.
Mhm.
Animals. So I slowly shuffled, like very quietly, not shuffled. I quietly sort of tiptoed over, and I felt Sassy, the name of the horse, sort of came to me. So and started to. I knew because I've got a connection with this horse. I knew it was okay to do it, and I quietly sat down, like about 3 meters from Anne Marie, and did the same. I just sat on the floor and started to, you know, settle into that space that they were in.
Mhm.
And then something happened that just blew my mind. That I was just sort of, I had my eyes closed, and suddenly I could feel Sassy's head touching mine on the side of my face, and she was breathing really, you know, like I was
Mhm.
breathing, grounding, and then she started to dial in, and then her head came over my head, and like, you know, like I say, I call it the third eye. You know,
Mhm.
your forehead. You know, this sort of third eye space. Your not your crown chakra. I don't know what it's called. There's like this, you know, your third eye.
Mhm.
And she put her freaking mouth, like suckered my third eye with her mouth. I swear on my life, I'm not lying, right? And she just sort of like literally suckered her mouth onto my freaking forehead and just stood there. And I'm just like, what the fuck? And I'm just sitting there breathing. And it was like we was I can't explain it. And I might sound like I'm an absolute fruit loop what I'm talking about. But I know what I experienced, and it was something that it felt like it was just otherworldly. And I was sitting there for about 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, where we was all just sitting in that state, and she had her lips suckered onto my forehead for about, I don't know, a couple of minutes here and there, and then she came away and then she did it again. It was very bizarre. Now, some people listening might think, she was just fucking chewing your forehead, mate. She was just, you know, what are you talking about? But I know what I've experienced. I've done some weird sort of, you know, I've done some weird sort of ritual, spirituality kind of vibe things, and I think it all points to the same thing, man. It's like this, we've got to channel into something, we dial into something that we're all searching for. Some people doing psychedelic drugs, some people, you know, getting a new car might get you that sort of feeling of this is it, you've got
Mhm.
the answer, you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, look, that's the end of that. I need to move on because I don't want to waste too much time.
That's
Talk
beautiful. I mean, it
about it.
sounds really lovely. I mean, yeah, I know from we've got a centre near here which does like work with troubled young people, and horses have that incredible, you know, that's what they talk about, have this incredible empathy and can pick up on people's emotions and help ground.
Mm.
So it sounds like
Mm.
you had something similar.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like it's an upgrade. And
Oh,
that's what I'm like. She was like, because she knows a lot about this and she's still learning, but she's like, sometimes we don't know what we're getting from it, and maybe the
mhm,
horses are getting something from it, but I think it doesn't really matter what you're getting from it, or what, it's what you're giving,
mm,
in my opinion. It's what you're giving, which is, you're connecting. That's what I'm giving. I'm connecting to something. It's really freaking great. You know, I used to sit in pub gardens, right?
mhm,
At a weekend, because this happened at the weekend, and it's like, for me, I used to spend my time sitting in the garden, pub garden, doing my other version of what I just described.
yep,
Right, so I'm connecting to, you know, my playground is the pub garden, and I've got all these people around me, and I'm connecting.
mhm.
But I was so disconnected through that whole time. And what I was describing just now, I'm like, I'm dialed in to something such a high frequency, you know?
I think there is a real openness. Like you said, you have to be open to whatever and not closed off. So I
Oh,
do I do actually think we are on letter O today, aren't we? So I mean, openness could be
oh,
there.
it's a
Just
segue. It's a
just
segue.
to make a little link there.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, look, anyway, so that's my little check-in. I said waste time. I'm going to correct myself. I'm not wasting time for
No.
me. I'm not wasting time for me. I'm not wasting time for anyone, because what I am sharing, whether you love it or not, whether you like it and you're into it or whatever, who cares? I honestly don't care, actually, if I'm honest, because all I need to know is that for me, it was very real, and it felt truly freaking profound. And do you know what? I'm going to use the word love. I felt like I was just fucking great. I can't describe it. It's just a beautiful thing, to experience something like that. A life affirming experience.
Mm,
That's what it was. I'm always banging on about it. Is sitting in a pub garden getting walloped on loads of sherbets all day with all your mates a life affirming experience? I don't know. For some people, that might be.
yeah.
But for me, sitting in a field with, another truly incredible human being, and these two incredible beings, and doing what I did, for me, that's where what I'm, what I want in my life at the moment.
Mhm.
I've done the other part, and well, it got me to a certain place, but I'm exploring this shit now. Anyway, so how are you? How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I am good. I think I'm coming out of this operation has been what has it been? It's been sore. It's been sore, and it's made me immobile, and it's sort of, yeah, I've sort of felt quite lazy. But actually, I was talking to someone the other day, and they were like, this is 20 years I've had this cyst, this infection. So something foreign has been in my body for 20 years that I've put up with, and at different times it's been, you know, the reason I've had it operated on now is because it's got so bad, and when it flares up, it gets really, really infected and really sore, and I can't sit down and all of that. So I've had it removed, but it's that thing. Actually, I've put up with it for 20 years. Why have I put up with this sort of, like, it flares up 2 3 times a year really badly? Why have I put up with that for so long? And actually, yeah, I've been in a lot of pain over the past few weeks, but I'm hopefully coming out the other side now, and hopefully it will be I'll be in a much better place. And I think that's the thing that's dawning on me now is, yeah, yes, it's been a literally a pain in the ass. But I guess what I'm questioning now is why have I accepted that pain? for 20 years and not gone, actually, I really should. I'm, I might be worth a bit more than that. I might, why don't I try and go and try and sort this out? So, yeah, that's the headspace I'm in. I'm getting impatient. I'm like, I'd like to be doing more. But I'm also appreciating the point that, it's a time of rest and it's a time of recuperation. And I've got to accept that. And as difficult as it is to just do nothing,
Mm,
and you know it's it feels wrong, it feels bad, but
mm,
it's also accepting that and going, actually, no, my body's healing, it's a good place to be. And I've just got to be patient and kind to myself.
love
So
that.
yeah, it's yeah, I'm definitely feeling more positive because I can feel less pain.
Mm,
But yeah, and it's also understanding the fact that I've been through this journey. um
yeah,
why yeah, why I've put up with it for so long.
I relate to that. Now, I haven't had a rat's tail growing out my bum. Sorry, I didn't mean to be derogatory about
well well, no, I did write that the other day. So it's some sort of, like, it's some sort of tail growing the wrong
yeah,
way. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, taking it out of context, but maybe that's how it felt for I don't know how you
Yeah.
felt, um, but I feel like that's kind of like it's symbolic, to people. I mean, I relate. I mean, I don't know anyone listening, but don't we all have something like? Don't we all have a metaphorically speaking, a rat's tail growing out of our arse somewhere in our lives, whether it's
Mm.
an ingrained toenail or something that we 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 don't like about ourselves that we can change. We have the means to change it, but we're just not doing it,
Yeah.
and we're
Yeah.
disregarding that. And I always call it self-abandonment.
Yeah.
That we're just we've already covered deflection and we've covered masking just recently.
Mm.
I don't know. Anyway, but I relate because for me there was an elephant in the room. My rat's tail was addiction and unresolved trauma,
Mm.
that I just abandoned the prospect of actually dealing with it, and I just lived with it, thinking,
Mm.
"Well, this is my lot. I'll just cope. I'll just get by. I just won't deal with it. I'll
Mm.
just something will work out." And maybe I don't know about you, but maybe my rat's tail will just fall off one day.
Yeah, I remember someone actually talking to me about it. I remember uh someone else had a ingrowing hair and was saying, "Yo, yeah, I just woke up one day and it all gone." So I think in my head, maybe that was there.
Yeah,
Is maybe if I just ignore it long enough,
yeah,
it will go away. And all it did was just get bigger and bigger.
yeah, yeah.
That is my, well, it's a bit grim, but that's my biggest regret, is that they didn't put it in a jar. I'd really like to see how big that hair had got.
I did say that, man. I was
Mm.
like, did you not keep it? Because that you shared that story of, was it a postman or something
Yeah,
that
yeah,
had it wrap around his spine and it
yeah.
it, it just
It's my hairdresser. It's always my hairdresser. It has these horrible stories about hairs and ingrowing hairs. And yeah, he was like, yeah, it wrapped around this postman's spine and made him uh,
sounds like
immobile.
human centipede vibes to me.
Yeah, going down that route.
Oh
Yeah,
my God. All right. Look, anyway, so you were all right though, yeah?
yeah. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good today.
Good,
Yeah,
good, good. All right, man. There we go. Horses and rat's tails.
horses and rats. Nice.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get into it. So your pick, Mr. Rice, your turn.
We're on O. Yeah,
We're on O.
there's
Um,
loads of O's.
I added,
Did you?
I added just, yeah, before we jumped on to convene. Is that the right word?
Mm-hmm.
I quickly did a little couple of late entries because I just looked through it and there's a few on there, but I just added the last um 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay. Right. So we've now got obscene, obsessive, optimistic, openness, oppositional, overt, oppressive, open minded, obedient, outgoing, overwhelmed, overthink, ostracize, orderly, ordinary, and orthodox.
And I added under ostracize is ostracized. Isn't that
Okay.
like as in ostracized? Oh no, hang on. Am I being a bit? Because it's like I thought there was like a difference between ostracize. You ostracize yourself and someone, but then to be ostracized is someone's doing it to you. No,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, I don't know why I did that, but I did.
Okay. So what am I going to pick today?
Some good ones,
There are some good ones.
and I'm sure there's more as always. You know, if anyone feels they can be asked. We have now got an email address. Join us at velvetrevolutionpod.com. It's in the description.
Um, I mean, I'm kind of going towards open-minded, but I feel like we've already talked about that. And then
Mm.
uh, overthink I quite like as well, and maybe obedience. What does obedience mean?
Oof.
Uh,
That's a good one.
yeah, let's go for obedience. Let's see where we end up with that one.
Yes, 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 yes. Happy, happy, happy. Like sometimes words just really excite me, and obedience one of them.
Hey, why does it excite you?
Don't know. It's just a really kind of like it's like I don't know. It's a real strong connotation to it being like, well, put it this way, right? I've got lone wolf tattooed on my knuckles,
Mm-hmm.
right? And for me, that was the ultimate statement of fuck you and fuck the system.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a lone wolf, man. I'm a wild horse.
That's gonna sucker onto someone's forehead.
Yeah, running through the prairie. Like obedience to me doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel like it's a skillful act of it doesn't feel very virtuous to me to be obedient to myself or others. No, no, hang on. Let me think about this. I'm trying to just establish because I always think obedience equates to a system, a class system, or you know, rules
Conforming,
and
definitely conforming. Yeah, yeah.
conforming and a rigidness to that and a like a boxed in fixed viewpoint. um you've got to be a certain way, otherwise it won't work for you. Obedience, right? But then is self-abandonment, which is what I always bang on about, I mentioned it earlier, is ignoring my rat's tail me being disobedient to my needs?
Hmm.
It's the word. Like we have some of these words that maybe it's just the word that we need to pull out of context and break down. Is there some stigma attached? Because I'm talking about the stigma that I'm attached to.
Mm.
That Bejant makes me want to go, no, push back against that word and what it means and go, no, you can't box me in. I'm wild, I'm feral, I'm a wild child, feral being that just doesn't want to be, conform. And I refuse to do it. No, that's my default setting, I think.
Yeah, yeah, no, no,
And,
yeah.
is that a human? Isn't that the true nature of all sentient beings?
To rebel.
Do animals want to be in a fucking cage? You know?
Yeah. Is it? It's it's very much accepting the status quo, isn't it? It's very much accepting that this is how things are, and not challenging that in any way.
Yeah, it's a lack of lack of curiosity,
Yeah.
because to be curious means you are not accepting the status quo. Do not believe what I tell you. Go and find out for yourself. That's the words of the Buddha, right?
Mm-hmm.
And bringing it away from what the Buddha said, because he's just a, you know, one person, but if you really look at what that statement means, what it means, you know, don't believe me. You know, go and find out for yourself, for your own direct experience, and find out for yourself what works for you, and follow that. Okay,
Yep.
so that's a really quite a powerful antidote in life, I believe. It's really helped for me. It works for me. You know, someone tells me something, why am I blindly going to be obedient to that and go, oh, okay, then, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, it's like, I don't think I've ever done that.
No.
I don't think I've ever done that. I don't think I'm capable of doing that. I don't know. Have I ever done that? I don't know. I can't think of any example where I've gone, okay, I'll do that. Yeah, okay. Without
Is there
actually
anyone?
question.
Yeah. Is there anyone you've ever met in your life that you've been like, yeah, I would, in what they're saying and what they're doing, you have a blind obedience that you're like, oh yeah, no, I absolutely trust that what you're saying is the truth,
Yes, I
and
have.
I will obediently do what you say. Or
Yes, I have.
okay.
The Buddha, who said, don't believe what I say, go and find out yourself through
Okay.
direct experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think whether. Well, I mean, I think there is a safety in being obedient. I think there is a safety net that lots of people need to feel uh, held and to feel contained. And I think that's why there's a level of obedience,
Okay.
because it gives people yeah, it gives people that safety and that
All
that feeling that they belong somewhere or
right.
belong to something.
Okay, I'm gonna fuck shit up right now.
Go on then.
Excuse me, I'm gonna fuck shit up. All right, so I'm gonna fuck it up for everyone. Everyone's conditioned to think like that.
Yeah. That's very much that's what I'm saying. It's
Everyone's been programmed to think like that.
yeah.
Right? You lot at home, anyone listening, you have been programmed. I'm included in that. We have been conditioned to think or believe that we've got to be obedient. All right, sit with that for a minute. We've been conditioned, all right, because zero state of consciousness, right?
Mm.
What is zero state of consciousness? What's zero state of being? Is that there's a neutrality to that. It means you're not conditioned. You're the purest form of having your own sense of right and wrong, right?
Yep.
Okay. Now, in that state, and I've been blessed enough through horses sucking my third eye and other things like
Yeah.
meditation, anything to do with meditation, you get to a zero state. You get closer to it anyway. And sometimes you actually do feel like you're in it a lot, where you get to this really beautiful zero state of being. And what I mean by zero state is you get rid of all the layers of conditioning and you get to your true nature. And you tap in, you dial into a true sense of north, a true sense of intuition, of, okay, I've got a really strong sense of what's right and wrong, right? Not just morality, but it's, well, it's morality, of course, that's a no brainer, but it's like, you start to look around and question a lot of stuff that is is going on, right? And it's in that space, it's in that mindset, it's through that lens that you can see actually everything that I've been ever, you know, all these signals, messages, narratives, you question them, you stop following them
So why don't people do that? Why don't we do that en masse?
because, sorry, come on.
I just, like it very much it fits into this notion of what we're trying to do in terms of, when we first talked about this idea of this podcast, it was we are just walking blindly through the world at this moment in time, and it feels like we are powerless and we are accepting of this order that we are underneath,
Mhm.
of people that are not serving us, people that are leading us into more chaos.
Okay.
And like you said, there's that uniformity, there's that conditioning that makes us all go, yeah, that's fine, we'll just do this. This is
Okay.
so why do we do that rather than going, no?
Because some people just want to be a stormtrooper.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. And like, I think some of the Star Wars movies started to show what lay beneath the mask of a stormtrooper.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just normal Herberts
Yeah,
walking
yeah.
around. Yeah. Sorry, anyone called Herbert, but they're the muggles. Am I allowed to say that? I don't know. They're just ordinary people that got um, conditioned and got conditioned to believe that they need to serve a certain narrative, so they became stormtroopers, right? So they're walking around and it's quite symbolic, they're walking around with a uniform on, black and white. Anyone that's not with me on what I'm talking about, just get online and quickly have a look at Stormtroopers or Star Wars if you're not into it. But I'm pretty sure most people know what a Stormtrooper is in the Star Wars movies, right? And they're wearing a uniform, right? Yes, Ben. No one can see this, but Ben's just held up a little toy Stormtrooper.
Yeah.
They've got a uniform on. They all look the same,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they're all marching the same,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And
So
they're all taught the same.
so is that's what I guess that goes back to the earlier question then, is there, so being a stormtrooper is great because everyone's wearing the same mask, same uniform, same armor. Everyone's walking the same. Everyone's talking the same. There is a conformity and a safety
Yeah,
in being part of the stormtrooper gang.
yeah. Yes, Lord Vader. Yes, yes is a word that's quite commonly used in that mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Lord Vader.
Obedience
Yeah.
to the empire.
And in the Jedi, they have a bit of style, man. They got a way about them. Not no Jedi looks the same. Yoda don't look like Obi-Wan Kenobi. Correct me if I'm wrong. And Luke and Leia, and I'm not too up with all the other movies. I lost track and lost interest because they all went a bit weird, but in my opinion. But um, the Jedi's got a nice little way about them, man. They've got a bit of swagger. They're walking in a different way. They're wearing different clobber. Even the Jedi, they don't wear the same gear, man. They're styling it out, and they're just talking. And their narrative is like, no, no. They've got no in their narrative. They've got the ability to say no and question stuff. You know, and it's just a
Yeah,
different.
they have, but they tread a very isolated and lonely path. I would say, just
Yeah,
looking at,
yeah,
if you're going to use the analogy of the stormtrooper versus the Jedi.
yeah,
I mean, there are bits and parts of the movies where they're hanging out together, but in pairs. But most of them tend to live very isolated lives.
yeah. That's true. Right, that is true because it is a lonely path. Someone said to me when I started to get on the path of redemption and virtue, and
Hmm.
the path of the true path, true nature path. In my opinion, my true path. Someone said to me once, it's a very lonely path because you start to see truth, and there's not a lot of people that are.
Can't handle the truth.
Yeah. So this is why you got to go to what's the place where the Ewoks are?
What, the planet?
Yeah,
Endor.
Endor. You got to find your Endor, man. You got to find your Endor. You need to connect to horses and
Ewoks.
and Ewoks, and you need a Chewie in your life.
Okay.
You know, you need a big furry Chewbacca. What is Chewie? Is he like a big man bear? I don't know what he is.
He's a Wookiee.
A Wookiee? Of course
Hmm.
he is. He's a Wookiee. What is a Wookiee? It's like a man Yeti.
Well, they did a Christmas special where they actually went back to the planet he came from, but it got
Oh
they
God.
hid it because it was so bad.
Oh yeah, God. All right. So you know, this is what the Jedi. It's no coincidence. The Jedi stormtroopers haven't got. What they got? They had Jabba the Hutt, didn't they?
Yeah, no, he was kind of a sort of villain on his own, wasn't he? He sort of had
Right.
his own den of iniquity.
Yeah.
But the stormtroopers was Darth Vader and the Empire and the Emperor.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But yeah, they had a very
Yeah.
rigid and ordered, structured way of being.
Yeah, and the Jedi's were just hanging out on Endor with the
Mm.
Ewoks in the tree houses and had fires and they were dancing and singing. You know what I mean?
Mm.
But then the Jedi, like you say, there is an isolation to that. There is a kind of a separateness too. But I've lived on the Death Star. You know, I've been was I ever a stormtrooper? I don't think I was a stormtrooper because I never dressed like a stormtrooper. I never spoke like a stormtrooper.
But did you conform to a different uniform? Did you conform to a different uh group mentality?
I think I was like Han Solo.
Okay.
I was Han Solo because he ain't a Jedi.
No.
I was like him.
Okay.
I was Han Solo, Dave Solo,
Dave
and
Solo.
and maybe the clue's in the name, Han
Yeah,
Solo.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, he was out there on his own with Chewie. You know, and he's just making a living, being smuggling bounty hunters around and all of that gear.
Mhm.
I was Han Solo.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not here or I'm not there.
Def-
I hadn't found a Jedi path yet.
and definitely not obedient.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why do you think then that you had a desire and a need to challenge? Because it's something I really associate with in that I never felt very comfortable, easy conforming at a school level, which I probably shouldn't admit being ahead of school now. But I I sort of I I I did that was my rebellion. That was my I don't want to I don't want to do this. I want to do it my way. And I have reasons I think I know why school didn't fit for me. I think my neurodivergence uh I wasn't aware of until I was probably an adult. Um but yeah, that didn't feel I didn't feel comfortable sitting in that obedience sort of like I'm just going to do exactly what everyone says because that's the right thing to do. There was a level of that. I could conform at a certain level, but then underneath it, it was like, no, I'm gonna mess this up. I'm gonna
Yeah.
do it my own way. I'm just gonna show them the mask they need to see. So
Yeah.
yeah, why do you think you had that? I'm just trying to, and I'm asking you that question because I think I'm trying to work out why I felt the need to do that, and I don't know if I have the answer actually.
Yeah. I think I've shared this before in an earlier episode. Like circumstance granted me a reaction to um the narrative
Hmm.
early life. So my dad's my mum and my dad separating and the early life role model of your father who still had a presence but he wasn't in the house
Hmm.
because my mum and dad separated and my dad moved out, and I think that granted me an opportunity to be more experimental from a young age in the art of pushing boundaries and seeing what I could how I could be. within the framework that was just, you know, a house with just a mother
Hmm.
who, so I was able to sort of maybe be a little bit naughty because I didn't have the wrath of Lord Father giving me the death grip by my throat. Not that my dad would do that, but you know what I mean. You didn't have that fear of like getting, you know, the wrath of your dad.
Mm.
Didn't have that yang energy in the house. It was yin. So maybe that was, you know, I can only presume that's what started it. Um, but for me, school, life, for me, life happens to you like that was the early that set it up. I believe that was like the starting point of me starting to um live my life in a different way than maybe it would have been had it been, you know, my dad in the house, and I might have been maybe a little bit more obedient in keeping to towing the line, you know, or whatever you want to call it. But when I started to get into the school system, you know, preschool, um, I've got an early memory of preschool where Star Wars figures, we're talking about Star Wars here. I
Mm.
remember I had a little playmate that, and I went on a play date to this guy who's from Canada, and the family had moved to England. It's one of like, really early on in life. I must have been like, I don't know, 5, 6. And I remember my mum had to take me up to the school to meet Sai, his name was. Don't know where you are, Sai. I don't know where you are in life. I haven't seen him since then.
Okay.
Um, I stole his Boba Fett from his house on one of our play dates because I didn't have it in my collection.
Hmm. And Boba Fett is one of the coolest characters, so I
Yeah,
could
I
see
didn't
why
have
you'd
Boba
want them.
Fett, so I stole Boba Fett, Star Wars figure, Return of the Jedi,
Yeah, he's in Empire Strikes Back, I think.
Empire Strikes Back. Sorry, um, I stole Boba Fett from a play date.
Yeah.
My mum, I think he told his mum, and his mum rang my mum. My mum obviously then got on to me about it, and then I think I might have just tried to wriggle out of it, or I don't know, I can't remember, but it resulted in me going up to school with my mum, having a showdown with Cy and his mum, and I had to hand over Boba Fett to him
Mm.
begrudgingly. And that was maybe an early sign there. That's the writing was on the wall from that point on that, you know, I didn't want to play by the rules. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
never really shared that ever with anyone before. That's something I've just, you know, as we're going, thought of and shared.
That the well, not it wasn't a theft, but it kind of was because it wasn't mine to swap. But I had I don't know who bought this. Well, I don't know if it's a family friend or something, but there's like a little sort of Ferrari car. I
Yeah.
remember, and I've never been fascinated by cars. There's like as a kid, as an adult, it's just cars are cars, you know, it's A to B sort of thing. It's not something I've ever been interested in. And I remember swapping this this Fred Ferrari mini car thing for a rubber King Kong.
That's a good trade.
And I came home with this rubber King Kong, and my mum went absolutely nuts because I don't think it was. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it wasn't mine to swap, and I came back with this really, yeah, really
Yeah,
bad knackered rubber King Kong thing that I thought was
get
much
it.
cooler for me. But
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. Rubber King Kong. I reckon there's probably other things out there now. I'm going off. Yeah, no, I won't go there, but I'm sure there is actually another toy out there called Rubber King Kong.
mm,
I know,
yeah.
battery operated Rubber King
Oh,
Kong. Anyway, let's move on from that. But anyway, so like I I had evidently, by just sharing what I shared, you clearly had the same thing with your rubber King Kong, mate.
Mm-hmm.
We had, is it fair to say, maybe is that just being a kid? Are you just trying to push against the system, what we're being taught, you know, share, be good, be kind, be generous, don't take what's not yours, you know, um, behave, fall in line, you know, do not lie, do not
All the good
cheat.
stuff. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, are we taught that? I'm pretty sure I always say this, I was taught well. My mum, and my dad when he was still living with us, and even when he wasn't, that he was still present for that part of my early life, as best as that situation could be. I'm pretty sure that I was taught, right and wrong, morals, how to be virtuous, whatever. But I feel like there was something ingrained in me that
Mm-hmm.
was sort of just, I saw the world very differently. Now, is that entitlement? Is there an entitlement to being disobedient? Um, you know, I'll take what I want. I'm not going to listen to what you think I should do. I'm going to do it anyway. Tell me to go left, I will go right. Even if left, even if I know left is the right way to go, the fact that you're telling me to go left, I'm going to go right to spite you. Now, that's how my mindset worked. Very fixated back in the day to that. If you tell me, Dave, you got to go left. You can't go right. You're not going right. You've got to go left. I will naturally want to go right. Right now, have I still got that mindset to this day? I have the virtue of wisdom, discernment. I have the virtue of intuitive thought, reflection, contemplative thinking. Standing on the grass, barefoot, grounding, doing a bit of meditation and getting your head sucked by a horse grants you a connectivity where you're more dialed into what the right thing is for you, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And the
But the,
greater good. And the greater good. It's not about
mhm.
being selfish. It's about being selfless too. It's a two-way thing.
But it's also not the norm. And there is the kickback to that is like, I mean, even as you were saying it and telling those things you were doing, you were like, people might find this a bit weird. And there's so that idea of there being like the outsider and the weirdness, you know, these things work for me, but not everyone does them. Not everyone's sitting in a field meditating with a horse, you know. And so if you had a audience, if people were walking past and watch, what's this guy doing sitting in a field with a horse kissing his forehead, you know, like there is a kickback to that because you're not doing what everyone else is doing. And I just wondering as well, because I know for me, creativity, you know, I was drawing and drawing and drawing from as soon as I could hold a crayon, you know, and that's what I did. I'm just wondering whether there is a connection to that creative thinking mind, which is, oh, what happens if I put this, you know, what happens if I do this? What's going to happen if I do that? And I think, and I, and that questioning sort of way of being, um, I wonder whether that links to the sort of disobedience, you know, that again, it's sort of a classic sort of stereotype of what the artist does, which is to challenge the norm and be different and be the outsider. You know, we talking about Van Gogh earlier, but yeah, that, you know, what would have happened to Van Gogh if they'd had proper medical treatment, they'd given him some, you know, some medication to cope with his I'm sure he's bipolar. I mean, God knows, you know, what didn't he have going on for him? You know, that poor guy. What would have happened to him? Would we have got uh, the incredible paintings that we got if he had been medicated, if he'd had the talking therapies, if he'd had all of that, if he hadn't been able to just go off and do his own thing,
Mm,
would we have ended up with the artwork that we have now?
mm.
And would we know him as this incredible artist? I think it's a really difficult uh, thing to think about because it is going towards that stereotype of the mad artist. You know, you have to be the outsider. You have to be mad. You know, you have to be this penniless sort of. And I don't think that is, for me. I don't think that's right. I
It's
don't think.
not. It's not accurate because I've
But
been that. I've been that kind of. I played that sort of persona.
mhm,
I do in my own way. I believe I've had my own version of that, experience of that. The misunderstood outsider. Struggling artist, creative thinker, whatever you want to call it, expressionist.
mhm,
That's the right term. But then I live my life very differently now, and I'm still to some degree all of that.
yeah,
But I just live my life in a more skillful, healthy way where there's no consequences to it because I've learned to do it in a different way. So instead of medicating on it, I meditate on it.
mhm,
So there's two opposing outcomes. No right or wrong. Same for Van Gogh, whatever his name is. It's like he lived his way in one way, and that was the outcome. We'll never know what the other way would have been, but if he had, I feel the art's there. The art's there. I do believe it's a myth. You don't have to be a complete fucking wrecking ball and destroy yourself and everything around you and all life around you because that is just a lack of coping with your mental, emotional world, your internal world. So you express yourself outwardly through your expression, art, whatever, and create masterpieces. But you're like the struggling artist, whether that's financially struggling or mentally struggling, emotionally struggling. I think the art's the art. I feel like, I think it's a myth. There's a lot of people say, I'm not going to name names, but I have this conversation about the big weed smokers that are out there that I have to try and help because you know, their life is evidently collapsing around them, and there's so much evidence that they're fucked. Yet they're convinced that, but I need this. This is what I have to do to produce X, Y, and Z,
mhm,
right? And there's music artists out there that are known, rackhead stoners that this is what validates their argument. It's like, but this person's doing it, and if they didn't do that, they wouldn't be doing that. I'm like,
mhm,
that's bullshit. Why do you believe that? They'd, they, if they were to clean up and deal. I'm not saying that the people that are smoking it have got issues, but if they, why are they smoking it? Why have they got that? Why do they smoke? Do they just wake up and go and smoke copious amounts of weed, or did at some point they found out that it could actually just lend itself to their life for whatever reason? But the art, they'd still be fucking good at what they do because they're fucking good at what they do. Does that make sense? What I'm saying?
yeah, yeah. But I think there is a when you don't conform, when you don't feel like you belong to the to the whole and the majority. That's the word I was for.
Mm,
Then I think when you start to feel like you don't belong and you are the outsider, that's when you find other tools that maybe aren't very skillful
mm,
to try and find a way of dampening down. So I mean, I think you're totally right. I think it's, you know, if you are a good artist or a great artist, whatever, then you should be able to transcend the the medication to be a great
exactly.
artist. But I don't think everyone does. And I think the demons. It's a really difficult one because I mean, I I know we're talking about art here, but I also think this in football. Like if you think of like some of the great footballers, they've also had that really destructive side. So if you think of someone like George Best, like I mean, he was an incredible footballer, but he also had this ability to drink. Well, he didn't have ability. He was an alcoholic and a womanizer, and that's what he did. And it's not like his greatness and his ease at being this incredible footballer wasn't quite enough. There was sort of, there's something that made him great, but then also destroyed him as well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I do think that is, you know, by stepping outside of the norm, by doing things differently, by acquiring a label of greatness or genius, it's I think it's really difficult then to conform and be obedient and do all the right stuff
Mm,
for some reason. And I don't have the answers, and there's a sort of human psyche as to why that happens. But I do think that is there. I think there is that potential. There's a
mm-hmm.
darkness, a destructiveness
Yeah.
to not conforming. you know it depends how hard you destroy yourself, I guess, as well, and whether you're able to pull yourself out of that
All
destruction.
right. So I've just watched a documentary film which is based on the life and times of Evil Knievel,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
It's not a fictional interpretation of it. So I've got to be really clear with everyone. Disclaimer, right? This is me, um, how what I got from it. Okay. It
Mhm.
doesn't mean what I'm saying is accurate. It's just my interpretation of how I saw that documentary and, how they created that documentary because Evil Knievel is no longer with us, but his family and certain people that knew him are on this documentary portraying the events as they happened. So all I'm doing is relaying that. Okay, disclaimer. I'm just relaying what I saw. Okay. Now I had an Evil Knievel wind-up toy.
Yeah.
As soon as I started watching it, I was like, "Oh my god, the nostalgia!"
Mhm.
I never traded that, and I just another disclaimer: I did not steal it from anyone. I got it for Christmas.
Okay.
Love that toy. Really inspired me to want to break myself and push the boundaries even more from a very young age. I really connected to the spirit of Evil Knievel. Now, anyone that's not seen or doesn't know anything about Evil Knievel, it's spelled Evel, right? Knievel with a K. Um, And he was like a modern day superhero, man. He was like a
Mm.
superhero. He was for real. Forget Superman, all that fictional stuff. He was the real deal. He was going out there and breaking himself. He was doing things that you shouldn't be able to do. And he wasn't very successful in he was a stuntman on he was on a Triumph motorbike and he switched to Harley Davidson. And I think that was the first mistake. Only my
Okay.
opinion. Only my opinion. No, I just prefer Triumph bikes. Um, just my preference.
Okay.
But he broke himself
Mm.
a lot. He was jumping stuff that you shouldn't jump. I think he did he tried 13 buses, 13 London red buses at Wembley. Do you remember this?
Vaguely. I mean, I just remember as a kid,
Yeah,
just
no, I mean,
you're
yeah.
talking about. Yeah, 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 yeah,
We were
yeah.
babies when this all played out,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
But it was, I can't remember if it's still in the 70s or early 80s, but it was around about, yeah, I think it was actually around 75 or 76. He came to London and he attempted to jump 13 London double-decker buses from ramp to ramp. Live, 80,000 people watched it live. And he fucked it. He stacked it. He clipped it. And he went arse over tit and broke the fuck out of himself. And at what point do you recognize that that's not happening? That you're not going to be able to do that. Now he was riding bikes that were really heavy. Now his son, what it showed on the documentary, he's riding proper bikes, that can zip double that
Right.
and
Okay.
go double the height and no problem. But at his time, he was so bold to that self-belief and kind of in a way, what I took from it, maybe some self-abandonment to put himself into these reckless situations to break himself. But he was obedient to what he believed in. And I really related to his character because he was just like, I really liked the spirit of him just going for it and going, fuck it. I'm going to do it. Regardless what anyone tells me, even like safety advisors or, any sort of, stunt team are like, mate, you can't do this. You cannot physically, scientifically, you won't make it. But he did it anyway. And it's kind of like, I don't know. I don't know if I've jazzed out too far with this, whether this is relevant, but I think my point is that it's not the thing he was doing that was the problem. It was kind of how he was doing it. Because if he had a lighter bike and I don't know, that fixated mindset of like, fuck it, fuck the rules, fuck what the rule book says. I'm going to do it anyway because this is what I believe in. This is what I want to do. This is my life's path. I'm going to do it, even if it is at my detriment. I want to show people that it's not about, because his message was all about, I'm falling off, I'm breaking myself. But it's like I get back up. Every time he stacked it, he insisted that everyone picks him up. He gets the mic in his hand and he addresses the crowd, says, thank you, thank you, Wembley, kind of thing. And then he hobbled off and was in an ambulance off to the hospital and he's getting his pelvis restructured and
Yeah.
his legs pinned together and then he's got like a whole year of recovery and then he goes and tries to jump the Grand Canyon or something. You know what I mean? It's just,
Hmm.
what's all that about? Why do we have that steely determination to go against the grain, regardless of, you know,
So in that instance, obviously there is a high chance of death.
very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so.
So he's, I mean, as you were sort of alluding to there, I think this the self destruction. Why jump 13 buses? And there's that quote, isn't there, about the guy that climbed Everest. I can't remember. It's on a song, and I can't remember. But the quote goes, why did you climb? Why did you feel the need to climb Everest? And he said, because it's there, because I can.
Yeah.
And it's that it's that whole I'm not gonna do what everyone else says. I'm not gonna conform. I'm not gonna do what everyone else is saying is the right thing to do
Hmm.
or the safe thing to do.
Mm.
There's a lack of safety, and where does that need to sit in a chaotic? Because it is, there is, you might create your own dogma and your own structure and your own set of rules, but you're not going to do what everyone else says.
Mm.
And that means that you are always going to feel different and you're always going to feel like you don't quite belong.
Hmm.
And I think it's a minority rather than a majority, isn't it? The majority of people, I mean, that's what, otherwise there would be chaos and there would be more revolutions and more rebellions and all of these things, because people would go, no, I'm not doing that. I want to live my life by this set of rules, or I don't believe what you're doing, so I'm going to go and do this.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But it does feel like the outsider, the that sort of mad genius that lives in the woods sort of thing. It's
Yeah.
yeah. I still question why we want to do that.
I think it comes down to conditioning. What I set off from the beginning to start to make that bold statement that it's conditioning, right? Because going back to Evil Knievel, and again, disclaimer, I'm just drawing from what the information was on the documentary in the film, right? I looked at his early life. Because
Hmm.
you know, like when you watch stuff like it always goes to, what was his childhood like,
Hmm.
right? And he was brought up by his grandparents. So he didn't have like he didn't have his I can only presume because he didn't actually say, but I can only presume that he found it hard
Mm.
to early life. And he lived in a tough town, in the arse end of nowhere, somewhere in Montana or something, where it was a lot of survival, a lot of, fist fights. You had to, every man for themselves, survival of the fittest, right?
Hmm.
So there is born, perhaps, I'm presuming, a need to, do it a certain way. I can't think about doing it any other way because my life has been predetermined and conditioned that I have to see the world through this lens and I have to live my life by it. Survival. This is what I've got to do to get by.
Mm.
And I really relate to that. So I'm just going to see the world very differently. Then there's other people that don't have that early life um, circumstance, and everything's very conformed and safe. And I'm not going to use the word normal because that's bullshit, but in my opinion, but there's, everything is like, oh yeah, we can do this, and then this happens, and then da 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 da. It's all very fluffy and, you know, um, you know, just just can't think of a word for it. It's just very vanilla, if that's the right
Yeah.
word. It's just very middle of the road kind of, yeah, it's Groundhog Day. It's kind of like, yeah, you get out of bed, you make your bed, we come downstairs to the breakfast table, we'll sit round, have breakfast, and let's put your school tie on and let's pack your packed lunch, put it in your little satchel for school. Bye, Billy, and off you go, sort of thing, and da 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 da, da. And then you go to school and you sit in your classroom and yeah, like, yes, teacher. Yeah, yeah. Okay. And then it's sort of like, and then you sit in dinner hall and you eat your little packed lunch and then you go into your next classes for the afternoon and then you go home and, you know, sit round the table with your family. How was school, Billy? Yeah, it was good, Mum. Yeah. And then dad comes home from work, and it's all very, just, you know what I mean? It's just a different way. No, I'm not knocking that. It's just a certain way of your early life your early life environment is going to shape you into a way of viewing the world through a certain lens. So, is any surprise that you're probably not going to venture outside of that because it's conditioning, it's how you're programmed, it's your blueprint for life. So, maybe the people that live like that and have that blueprint. Sorry if I've offended anyone who's lived that and I've called it vanilla. But to me, I haven't had that. So to me, mine was more a bit fruit and nut, maybe. There were certain elements of what I just described with, but it wasn't like that for me. It was very different. And so it's just a bit more, in my opinion, it's just that way and then there's another way. And there's a lot in between. And there's varying outcomes dependent on how your early life is how you're tuned in. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think it alludes to this idea of perfectionism and this sort of ideal world that doesn't really exist. Like I would question and say, does that life actually exist? Could you find a family that have just done that and everything's worked and it's all perfect? It reminds me of, like, we've talked about David Lynch before, but that sort of blue velvet ideal where you start with the white picket fence and the beautiful beautiful house and flowers, and it slowly descends into the darkness. It slowly descends underneath all of that veneer of
Mm,
perfectionism, and yeah, you know, uh the 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 the, the ideal way of being or existing, the 2.4 children, all of that. And I just don't know. Yeah, I just don't know it exists. And we're still so sort of wedded to that ideal.
mm,
And the further down the scale you get from, the perfect family, perfect nuclear family, to the disillusioned wandering Jedi artist, samurai, lone wolf, depends how far. It feels very destructive. I guess that's what I'm saying. I feel like there's a level of destruction that happens to the self in that. I mean, I'm trying to think of people that end up on that path that haven't had some sort of moment where they've dabbled. Oh, I'm saying dabbled. You can't dabble in addiction. Where you've been an addict.
just have a little dabble, have a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
flutter,
I'm
have
I'm
a little
I'm gonna
flutter.
I'm gonna be an addict for 2 hours. I can't see. I'm finding it really difficult in my head to think of a person or a someone that has ended up on that path that hasn't really challenged the status quo, but
Mm,
also within themselves. There's been a level of destruction to their actions to get to that point. Um, and yeah, as much as I don't want it to be that, what am I trying to say? I don't want it to be that stereotype that you have to go down, that you have to see the darkness to then come and find the light. Uh, but there does seem to be that, like, if you can't just do the 9 to 5,
mm,
if you don't exist in that path, and
mm,
that feels like you don't,
mm.
you don't quite belong. So then
Yeah,
then there is that, all right, what do I do with this?
yeah,
But I don't think it's as simple as like this path or this path. I just think there's this whole spectrum in between,
yeah, yeah,
and no one's talking about it, and no one's saying, actually,
yeah,
I'm thinking of the perfect household with all the chintzy little
yeah,
ornaments on the windowsill, and but everyone's got something. Everyone's got, yeah, this isn't quite right. Everyone is thinking this isn't quite right. This
yeah.
doesn't this perfection doesn't exist.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I like the fact you brought perfection into the mix. You know, there's a certain air of perfectionism to, what we're talking about, versus not having that and
Mm,
just getting real about that and just, accepting that is anything perfect? Why are we trying to achieve it? Good is probably more relative, more
mhm.
achievable. Um, I don't know why I thought The Life of Brian, the film, fucking Romans. I'm quoting from the film, by the way,
Yeah,
just in
yeah.
case anyone's wondering. I'm not slating off Romans. Um, that film brilliantly displays. I'm gonna probably watch that actually at some point pretty soon because that's one of my. I love that film, Life of Brian, Monty Python,
Mhm.
and they really do cover what we're talking about really well in that. That sort of conflict between the People's Front of Judea and the Judean People's Front. All these the sort of groups of the resistance against the conformity and the rules and the power that is the Romans. And it's a really very it's a satirical buffoonery, Monty Python at their best interpretation of pushing back against the system, and I fucking love it. And the way they do it is genius. I think it's got a really good message, especially the song at the end. When they're nailed up on the cross, and they're just like, they'll start singing and tapping their feet and have their little jingle jangle to always look on the bright side of life. And that's what it comes down to, man. I think there's a seriousness to being too obedient, you know? the perfectionism of it all.
Mm.
No, it's like, just chill out, man. Drop your shoulders, man. Now that's not real. That's fictional and it's satirical. But the power in that they're nailed to a cross, right? And it's a very serious. It's a religious connotation, something that's very profound, and you know, don't want to detract away from that. But the way they did it, it's kind of like it's really symbolic of what maybe even then when it was made in the 70s, wasn't it? I think. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
Late 70s, I don't know. But even then, that was like 50 years ago. And they're suggesting that, we need to chill the fuck out and look on the bright side of life. Don't take life so seriously. Stop taking ourselves so seriously, man. And loosen up a bit, man. Stop being so rigid. Is that being disobedient?
Yeah. I mean, I think it is. I think it's that I I think at this moment in time, I think we are. I think people are questioning a lot. I think everyone's sort of got their own way of being because we have ended up in this quite sort of isolatory sort of place where we're all allowed to have our own opinions, and we've all got a platform to put them on, and we can all have our a completely unique way of thinking, and that what that means is that we've completely fragmented, and we can question authority. There's a lot of I think that's what's really scary at the moment. We look at all the movements that have been in the past 10 years, Black Lives Matter, the Me Too movement, trans rights, all of it means that we're in a situation now where the trust has completely been broken. This obedience that we've had to the state, or to whoever we see as our leaders, everything feels like, you can't trust the police, you can't trust your religion, you can't trust the politicians, you can't. It's like we've lost any sort of obedience. We've lost any sort of like what do we put our faith in? What do we
Mm,
say is right and wrong? And well, I don't think we're questioning what's right and wrong, but it's like we it's like we don't have people that we can believe in. We don't have trust in each other that we're going to do the right thing. And I think that's really sad, because I think that is the minority that are doing the wrong thing. And I do think the majority still wants to be good. You know,
yeah.
I don't, I don't think anybody gets up in the morning and thinks, oh yeah, I'm gonna really mess things up today.
Yeah, I'm gonna be a mega twat.
Yeah, yeah. I
No,
think most
exactly.
people, majority of people, are out there to do the right thing.
Mm,
And we need to find that commonality, rather than, oh, well, you support this political party, or you believe this about this group of people. It because if we're not having that commonality and not finding a connection, then we're not able to have any form of education. We're not able to say, yeah, maybe we need to rethink this a bit, and we need to redo this, and we,
mm.
as a society, as a community. And I just think yeah, I think I think probably the disobedience versus obedience scale has gone very much into the disobedience, because there's no faith, there's no trust in each other as a community.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely bang on there. I really like what you say. And when you say it and I'm listening to it, sounds like a really fragmented world.
Mm.
That's the right term.
Hmm.
And I think um, I've bared witness to some really beautiful places. I live in one of them
Hmm.
where it doesn't feel very fragmented. It's a bit like Fiji. Excuse me. It's a bit like Fiji, where I went when I went to Fiji. That doesn't feel fragmented. Now, I can't help but know. I'm not going to say think. I know, right? this is a bold statement, but I'm going to say it. I know why the Fijians, they, from being around it in a very short space of time that I was there, I bared witness to it. And I bear witness to it here where I live, right? By the coast, in this little pocket of land in England on the Isles of Great Britain. And then there's other places where there is this really strong sense that it's not fragmented. And what it is exposure. And I said this before when I talked about Fiji, and I can't remember what episode, where there's a lower exposure to the outside influence, the noise, right? The tentacles like an octopus. They don't really reach here. They haven't reached Fiji. Them tentacles are really good at getting into the hooks, the suckers onto, just like the horse's mouth on my third eye. They sucker you in and they can pull you and draw you in and lock you in, and are you living, anyone listening, are you living, do you feel like the tentacles of the fragmented world environment or chaos or noise, and a lot of that's coming through different portals, right? Some of it's physical, so you might be living in an environment, could be your house, it could be the estate that you live on, or the town or the city that you live in, could be densely populated with that fragmented noise and chaos, because there's a discord there, there's an angst, because maybe people aren't living in a way that they're happy with. So there's a greater sense of dis-ease, and there's a vibration that's really notable. You can really feel this vibration, this sort of like heaviness to it, right? But Fiji and where I am, and there's places where we don't have that. We
Mm.
don't. We just don't have it. It's there if we want it, but we don't have it. Now, why is that? Well, share on it quite often. Where I am, and like the Fijians, right, they walk around barefoot mostly. Not because they're behind and they're simple and they're not advanced people as humans. They just choose to. They like walking around barefoot because they recognise that it's nice to walk around barefoot.
Mm-hmm.
It's unlike you can do that in the city. Right. Some people even walk around in their house with their fucking DMs on.
Mm.
Right. There's a reason in some certain cultures you take your shoes off at the door and you walk around barefoot. It's not just etiquette. It's more than that. Because when you're at home, you want to feel grounded and be at home. It's your safe space. Take your fucking shoes off, man. Right. And what I'm talking about is it is possible to, we need the pillars. I've always said this, we need the pillars of the institution. Otherwise, and maybe they're just 4 pillars that hold everything together. And I don't know what those pillars are, but we need them. Maybe it's healthcare, some sort of educational thing. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We need we need them pillars. Whether there's 4 or, it wouldn't work with 3, I don't think. We need 4. But then maybe going to the Egyptians, they didn't have pillars. It was more like pyramid shaped. So it was many, many parts created this really strong, solid foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's where we're going wrong, because we rely on 4 pillars to hold everything together, and it's not enough. Don't know if I'm getting too far out with this or too deep with it. But what I'm trying to say is we need some sort of structural pillars or pyramid. I prefer pyramid, if I'm honest, to pillars.
Okay.
because it feels more reliable, um, and more true to me. That it makes sense if we create lots and lots of, and maybe that's our community is lots and lots and lots of components that come together to make a greater thing, and it's how you structure it that's the most important thing, and that every component of that has a place and is aware that without the other it wouldn't work, and it's a great sense of us versus them.
Yeah. And I think it's, using the pyramid analogy, it's like Maslow's hierarchy of need, isn't it? It's, you know, if the foundation of that pyramid stroke triangle isn't, the basic keeping people safe, keeping people warm, keeping people fed, and I think that's very much where we're at the moment. Is people are really struggling to do the basics, which means we're never going to get to that top level thinking at the top of the pyramid,
Mm.
where people are able to have balanced conversations that enable us to move forward and progress.
Free will.
Yeah, because we don't have that security.
Mm.
People are literally going, I'm not quite sure where the next meal's coming from, or I'm not sure I'm going to be able to pay this energy bill. So then that fragmentation happens because at the bottom of the triangle, the bottom of the pyramid is people just going, nope, I'm looking after me at this moment in time because I can't do anything else.
Mm.
But we live in a place where there is abundance. There is more than enough. So we shouldn't be in that situation. But somehow we've got ourselves there.
Yeah, well, look, I don't know if I went too cosmic with what I was saying. It's how I see it, and it's easy for me to say, but I'm going to say it. It's a choice for me. I've chosen to um, disentangle from the tentacles, and free myself and come somewhere where I could be away from all that noise. And a big part of that is coming off of certain, like the phone is the greatest portal for that.
Mm.
And I've recently, I just want to share this. I've recently um, deleted. I've got rid of emails off of my phone,
Mhm.
which, BlackBerry phones, there are other phones available that offer email services. But when the BlackBerry came out, that was the revelation of like, oh, wow, I can now do emails on my phone. That was years ago. And I just got conditioned to think that I need to keep it on there. And I just got, it's something that I've actually just woken up and gone, why am I fucking, I got rid of my emails off my phone. Don't want to be on my emails on my phone anymore. So I've got phone, I've got messages. I've not got any of the other platforms, messaging platforms. I've just got the stock message app thing on application on my phone. What else have I got rid of? Got my banking, got rid of that off my phone. Just got rid of
Okay.
everything. I got rid of everything that I can do on a computer off my phone. So that when I'm out and about, if I am going to have my phone with me, I'm not going to be looking at it for all the stuff. I want it to be a dumb phone. I don't really
Mhm.
want a phone, but I've got to have one, and I have one. So I'm being obedient to the world that I live in. I'm not quite at Alaska level yet, where I'm just going to go and live, with a dumb phone off of, off grid. But I'm trying to get to as close as zero state of being as
Mhm.
possible. So I made a conscious decision to get rid of all my emails, get rid of all my banking, get rid of all that noise off of the tentacles that cause me to feel fragmented in my day-to-day well-being and being present in my life. Anyway, so I've made a conscious decision to just change things because I have the power to do that,
Mhm.
and I can have a a, a stronger sense of connectivity to doing other stuff, creativity, or just enjoying being out in life and being with people and being present and all of that stuff. But it's hard. It really is hard. You know, this is why I have to be really obedient to what I know I need to do to make that change and do the right thing. And everything we're talking about always comes down to the same thing, which is when we're talking about obedience and obedient, and maybe we are linking it, and the theme is it's like us versus them, or me versus the world.
Hmm.
You know how I fit into that. You know, am I a lone wolf that just has to go out there on my own and just feel like I'm just got to just do it on my own, or is there a pack of people that I can connect to? Absolutely, yes. I love being a lone wolf, but I also love my fellow lone wolves. But it starts with me. You know, do I want to be entangled in the tentacles of the rules, the game of life, or do I want to disentangle from the things that I can, and I have
Hmm.
the power to do that, to take the accountability and to make that conscious decision and choice that I can to create a different outcome, which is more rewarding to me. And it's not material reward, it's a greater sense of happiness and well-being and contentment.
Mm.
It's,
Mm.
it's contentment. I was talking to someone about this just yesterday, about there's a difference between happiness and contentment. Happiness is a fleeting spike of exhilaration of like, I'm really happy, but then that falls away. But contentment is, for me, consistent. It's creating a life that I want, that I do have the power and the choice and the means to create that life and to sustain it and to feel very content within it. And then the happiness is still going to come and go, but the contentment of being is like the spine of it. It's like the lifeblood of it. Does that make sense?
Mm. Yeah. So, so obedience is about finding the rules that work for you as an individual, and making sure you stick to those rules.
Yeah, and then break
And
every other fucking rule.
but I think there also needs to be a community where those rules are also uh, also shared. I think I think that is it, isn't it? It's about finding a community where the shared experience is is something that you can connect to and you can feel is worthwhile.
Yeah,
And that doesn't mean we all just end up in like little tribes. It's about being connected to enough to people to accept that we're not all the same,
mm,
but there is a level of autonomy to everyone.
100%. So let me just add to that, right? I love that. Poetic. I always love to say sometimes you come out of true poetry, and that was one of them, right? So, subscriptions, right? Let's just use subscriptions to what we're talking about, right? So, here we go. We live in a world where it's all about subscription. Subscribe to this, subscribe to that. We live in a subscribed world, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Right. So it's almost like subscribe, rinse, delete, download, subscribe, rinse, delete.
Hmm.
That kind of mad cycle, isn't it? Of
Mm.
you know what I mean? It's kind of
Yeah.
like a bit like that. And we try that with lots of different things. And you can relate that to anything. Like oh, got a new love interest, so I'm gonna, you know, subscribe to it, rinse the hell out of it, and then delete.
Hmm.
And then you download a new one. You know, you can use that for anything.
Mhm.
online shopping, uh, platforms for this, for that, entertainment, for anything. Subscribe. We live in a subscribed world, right? So, is it fair to say, people, that when you don't have an interest in something and you see it doesn't serve you anymore, you just unsubscribe, right? Or are you one of them people that's got every single subscription and your subscriptions, and this is an interesting one, total it up. How much are you paying a month for all your subscriptions in your life? And really look at it. How many of them do you actually bloody well need? Right? It's an interesting one. I do this with the young Mavericks because if you really look at it, you could probably unsubscribe from a lot of it, delete it because you don't really need it, save yourself a hell of a lot of money and put that focus and energy and time and even the money into maybe other things. Subscribe to other things in your life. You do have a choice.
Yeah, I would. Do you think then? Do you think because of that subscription mentality? I know you use relationships as as the sort of starting point, but do you think that's why we're not forming proper connections because
Yeah.
we are treating relationships
Yes.
as subscriptions?
100%.
I'm
I
just
think,
going to download this,
yeah,
rinse the hell out of it, and then
yeah,
get out of Dodge.
yeah, because I can.
Yeah,
Right. And, but then if that's our mentality, why are we subscribed to certain things that don't serve us?
yeah.
Right. So you ask yourself at home, why are you still subscribed? Like I'm going to use myself, for example. Why was I going to the pub garden every day, going to the bar and getting a skimful every day and then making the call and calling it in, getting a bit of chop chop and then whatever, get some pingers down my neck as well and some fucking benzos. Getting, why am I subscribed to medicating when I recognize it doesn't serve me anymore? Right. And I did unsubscribe.
Mm.
I managed to do it. And I've been unsubscribed from that gig for a long, long, long time. My life's a lot better for it. But it's like anything. So there is a connection between the psychology and mentality and trend and the essence of we are living in a subscribed mentality of obedience, and
Yeah.
we're unskillfully, perhaps, maybe, because now I can do this, I can get into this, I can subscribe to anything, rinse the hell out of it, delete it. It's kind of like that cycle. It's the perpetuating cycle of
Mm.
birth, life, death, birth, life, death.
Which is the only certainty and the only thing we really can be obedient to is that is definitely going to happen.
Yeah,
Everything else is up for grabs.
absolutely. So I think what's come out of this conversation, we could go on forever, but I feel like we've concluded on this. That is it fair to say that we do have a choice?
Yep.
We always have a choice,
Mhm.
and it always comes down to the same thing: getting real. Can you even be asked to fucking get real about it? Or is your life just a lot easier if I subscribe to the ideology that this is my lot and fuck it, it'll be all right. What's the harm? I just need to numb out because life is so fucking shit and monotonous and fragmented that I need to subscribe to certain things to escape the reality, which is quite tedious. So I'm just going to subscribe to escapism to avoid reality. But I've got the experience, yeah, I did that for many years. But when you actually turn the narrative and change the lens and refocus that lens, you can just unsubscribe from certain things. You can find your theatre of life and escapism in other ways, but without the consequences attached. It's another way of doing it. But why are you following the crowd? Why are you being obedient like a little sheep when you can just do it a different way? It's quite anarchic. It's quite an act of being a punk, like a real fucking badass rebel punk to turn against the stream. Only dead fish float downstream.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah. Do you want to be a stormtrooper? Or do you want to be a Jedi? And the Jedi path is going to be painful, and it could be a little bit lonely, but it might be more fulfilling.
And you get to hang out with Ewoks.
Yeah, which is always a bonus.
Mm.
Right.
Okay.
I think, yeah, that's a good place to stop as any. How is that? Is that good for you?
Honestly, I feel like this is, out of everything we've done so far, this is one that's so important.
Mm.
And they're all important, but this one's loaded with so much. We're just scratching the surface with it. But I feel like we got what we needed to get.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
you?
Yeah, I totally hear you in that. I think, yeah, there's lots of points we could have, yeah, gone off on another tangent. But yeah, I think we've got the best of it. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay.
As long as the moral compass is pointing in the right direction and you're not harming yourself or anyone else, there's no right or wrong. Just
Mm-hmm.
gotta stay true to what you believe in and go and do it
Mm-hmm.
best of your ability.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Rice. I'm gonna stay subscribed and obedient to the TVR and what we're doing.
Excellent.
So I'll see you on the next one.
See you then, Mr. Knuckle. Take care.
See you later, man. Bye.
Bye.